And I'm Rick Baker.
Yes, I was even going to introduce you. And I'm Bob Ferguson, City Council person, and I guess the organizer of Traction Thursdays right now. I've known Rick for many years, and he's got some really potent entrepreneurial activity coming up. Today he's going to have a little bit different angle on how we can solve persistent issues that we think, gee, it'd be nice if someone did something about XYZ. And with AI and with the capacity to create tools, apps, that kind of thing, without any coding knowledge, we all of a sudden have the capacity to do much, much more than we did before. So Rick is an entrepreneur. He was actually one of my Ayurvedic techs years ago. Great affection from that experience. And he's going to talk to us about what AI tools we can use to solve problems. So Rick.
Great. Thank you, Bob. So show of hands, how many folks here use AI day to day? Okay, great. Who would say they use AI 10 hours a week? Okay, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week.
Isn't it built into everything now?
It's kind of built into everything, that's true too, yeah. So whether we're using it or not, I wanted to address this event in our community that we've been fighting these data centers, right? And it's a personal conundrum for me when I look at what happens to a community when an AI data center comes in. I love these tools, but I don't want my water to go away. I don't want my electricity to go away. So to preface with that, the discomfort of enjoying the tool, but also not wanting to experience what others are experiencing right now due to these data centers. So I recently saw a company that's building data centers out in the ocean. I hope they figure that one out so they can keep cooling these data centers without impacting the environment. Okay, so a lot of people when they log on to an AI service, they see a screen, they see a chat box, and they say, do it for me, make me a pizza, And I wanted to show you guys that there's a lot going on beneath the surface. So if you're not receiving the results that you want from your AI, then it's time to look under the hood and figure out what aspects are not being considered, right? With a lot of the classic models that are out there and accessible, $20 a month, they have certain weights and certain training that may not fit your requirements. And so it's up to you to put in the requirements needed so that the AI can understand the world as you understand it and give you data as you would appreciate in receiving it. Something that's happening now is companies are getting huge bills from these AI companies, a $40 million bill, right, for AI services. And what they're figuring out is, wait, we should just get our own little mini data centers, right? And we should have most of our code and most of our proprietary knowledge stay in-house and only refer out when we need to, okay? Because right now what's happening is so many companies are giving away their knowledge, their IP, to someone who could edge in and say, hey, Claude is now going to go into healthcare, or hey, we're now going to go into this service, right? So something to be mindful of. So we went over that conundrum, right, of, okay, there's a lot of folks who might not have work or whose entire education is being questioned due to these services. And then there's those who are accelerating their margins and their profitability due to these services. So it's definitely a conundrum, and it's something to watch as we move into the future. Is there going to be a universal basic income? And how are we going to address robots? At some point in an elderly community like this, where there's a lot of folks who have money, it makes perfect sense for them to send their personal robot caretaker to everybody's and pick them up food. That's a totally logical use of an AI robot. But is that something that's going to be allowed and welcomed easily is a whole other question. Okay, so moving to this case study of utilizing AI right here, right now to solve a problem that I've had for quite some time. So we go to the Dome, right? And at the Dome, they need these little badges from us, right? And we'll just say, this is my badge. And I show my badge at the door and they say, okay, you're good, come on in, welcome, right? And if I forget my badge, depending on the person at the door, they'll either let me in or they'll say, you need to come back with your badge, okay? Now, one thing that I've loved about using my phone is tap to pay, okay? I can just tap my buttons and then boom, I'm paid and I'm out. You know, I don't have to fumble with my wallet, you know, go looking for it, which pocket, this or that. So I had the idea, what if we could have that feature on the phone where I just pull up my badge. Concerts do this. So many different event venues have this system already, right? We just pull up our badge or service and we're there. Sorry, I have this very secure computer and it's always shutting off. So you'll have to bear with me on that. Okay. So I thought, you know, what if we could have this badge on our phones? Okay, and I started to talk to folks. It's a great idea. It's a really nice idea. And then I looked at it. Well, it could be kind of expensive to fund. So how could we fund this idea, right? Okay, what if at the Dome, it's 5 o'clock, the doors lock, okay? And for 15 minutes, up to 5:15 or 5:20, you've got guys tapping on the window trying to get into the Dome, right? Because they didn't show up on time. And there's this whole, you know, unspoken understanding of if you walk into the Dome and someone unlocks it for you, you wait for the next guy to walk on over and you open it for him, right? Or sometimes you'll arrive and there's 10, 15 guys all waiting to get into the Dome, right? Okay. So I thought, okay, what if we could put this electronic entry, right, where we can just do a biometric scan on using our phone and then scan ourselves in. That is such a cool, fun idea. And as a guy who grew up reading popular science, I thought, oh my God, this is a dream come true. How high tech is this? Okay. And you have to pay to have that access, to be able to walk into the Dome after hours. You'd have to pay. This is a great idea, right? Until I brought it to stakeholders. Okay, what do you guys think of this? This would never fly. Why not? Well, Maharaja, leader of the TM movement, wants people to all meditate at the same time. So if someone can walk in late, then, so it killed my idea, all right? And I was so proud of myself because I was already asking other guys at the Dome, would you pay for this? You know, how much a month, right? Oh, 20 a month. This is a revenue stream for our movement, which doesn't appear to be flush with cash, right? But again, there's this constraint of we don't want people to just walk in and let themselves in at any time, as cool as it is. So I showed this to other people, this badge, and I started to get some feedback. And I will show you the badge, and then I'll tell you about the feedback that I got. Okay, so this is an app, a website that I made using a few different AI tools. Really nice, super empowering as someone who's non-technical and doesn't really know much about how to HTML or CSS. So to be able to create something like this and put it into someone's hands, to send them a link. Take a look at this, right? So here you see your Dome badge is evolving, right? And here's your QR code, here's the expiration date. These are all the same things that you would see on a TM badge that gets printed out, okay? And by the way, getting one of these, a physical one of these, is an act of God, okay? There's this Dome office, it's got weird hours.
2 hours a day.
2 hours a day, okay, is that what it is? Yeah. And you know, it's so weird to schedule. It's like right in the afternoon. It doesn't really work, right? So what if people could just get a Dome badge from afar, right? Then there's that other issue. of people flying in and they need to go to the Dome office, right? I remember when the AMVSC course was starting, you could see 40 cars at the Gate Ridge building, waiting to get their Dome badge. And each person has to go through the photo and this and that, all the formalities. No, this should be done asynchronously using technology, okay? So that was also the dream, is to make it easier for people to scan in, okay? So yeah, you get verified, you can scan in, you can unlock the Dome and be a Maha supporter, okay? A super supporter, right? Give us $50 and you too can have a key. Do less and accomplish more. So this is something that I read or something that I heard last year. Now someone came in to do a course. They had to email a Raja, okay, a guy who's donated $1 million to the movement, or someone who's just very busy, right? Wait for that guy to answer so they could get a record of their courses, their techniques, their programs, okay? So while I was getting all excited about this unlock the Dome and be a Maha supporter and be the cool guy with the phone that can unlock the door, right? That was me falling in love with an idea. The real problem was right here, that no one has a record of where people have been, okay, what people have done. So we'll get to that. For the moment, let's continue relishing in what I built. Okay, so this is Anne. All right, so when Anne scans her Face ID, it will open up her QR code, and then she'll just scan that at the Dome, and boom, she's in. And it shows she's a Siddha, a TM teacher, she's done AMVSC. There's a schedule of things to do, right? If she's on a course, then she's here with us in Fairfield, and she can find out, okay, there's a group experience meeting. There's a knowledge session in the evening. Here's the menu link for Annapurna, so on and so forth, right? She can find out which days have paneer and which days have something else. Okay, great. And then settings, you can have a link. You can add this to your Apple Wallet, your Google Wallet, right? And this I made maybe in 2-3 hours tops, okay? So this is a proof of concept, right? This is something that I can put in someone's hands instead of saying, hey, Bob, think of this great idea. And then they have to do all of the neural effort and work to imagine it. Instead, you put it in their hands, and now people can iterate and think, okay, well, what are the other directions? Now that we have this here, where else can this go? And so I sent this over to some folks, and Tom Brooks said, this will never fly, okay? The reason why he said this will never fly is because of this feature, unlocking the Dome, okay? Had a conversation with Craig Pearson, take it out. Eventually, Tony Maharaja will look at this, he will not want to see this. So be sure to take it out. Okay, great. Huh?
It's already happening.
What's already happening?
It's already being unlocked by other people.
Well, yeah, it's just
It is.
in an
yeah.
analog way.
It is. I know. We're too ahead. We gotta, this is the trouble of being an entrepreneur and a visionary at times, right? Is like, well, it's already happening, dude. It's like we should do a live documentary. That's my next project, is just do a documentary of look at all these folks unlocking the door for each other. But anyways, for another time. This is out of my heart. This is out of service because I really think there can be some ways that the movement can work better, more efficiently. And again, coming back to this issue about the Rajas and the records and no one having that, that's a great place to start, right? The essence of strategy is choosing what not to do, okay? So we're not going to unlock the doors. And I had this idea maybe 2 years ago. And the reason why it stalled is because I really wanted the door unlocking strategy, and people kept telling me that will never work. And I thought, all right, I'm not going to do this then, okay? But the truth is that that's me being egotistical. That's me having a solution and looking for a problem, right? Whereas true entrepreneurs see a problem and they build a solution from that. We don't want people to show up late. That's an issue, all right? Maybe we need a reward system that if people show up on time, then, I don't know, they get 10% off at the Golden Dome Market or something like that, right? Maybe that's what they need, some incentive to show up on time. So I opened up this new issue. I saw it, right, through that quote that I showed you guys. But then when speaking with others, they said, no, this is actually the issue, Rick, is the records. The records is an issue, okay? What happens is when you go to a TM, how many TMers do we have here? Okay, nice. Yeah, cool. I like the, yeah, all right. Down. Any undercover TMers, that's all right?
Don't hold it against me. Right?
Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But when it's time to go to a course, when it's time to do a world peace assembly, get a new advanced technique, they give you a bunch of paperwork. They said, all right, how good is your brain right now, right? How's your VO2 doing?
Yeah,
okay? Right. And there's a whole memory test of when did you learn TM? When was the last course you went to? Who were the teachers? What were the locations? What were the dates? All of this information that should be streamlined, right? It should be, what is your name? What is your barcode? Okay, great. We have all your data. Thank you. Okay. And this is a problem that's very worthy of solving. Okay. Like I said earlier, fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Okay. The more we understand the problem, the better we can solve for it. Okay. This is Uri Levine, and he created Waze. Has anyone used Waze?
Yeah, Waze.
Okay, good. Okay, so we said all this. What, why, who? Okay, so when we're looking for a solution, we want to put on our detective, or when we're trying to understand a problem, we're putting on our detective hat, right? And one thing that I learned from customer discovery is you imagine the person's head, okay, that you're speaking with. You want to know what they're hearing, what they're seeing, what they're saying, every aspect of their sensory input and output. You want to understand that so that you know that what you're building is fitting their pain points. So I showed folks my mock-up. I heard what they said. Now we have a new problem, a new hypothesis to build upon, right? So I will be going home and I'll just quickly change things to show a TM passport of all of the different records, the events, and the courses that they've attended. And I was embarrassed to push this out, right? Because it looks very silly. I can't decide what I want for my name. You know, is it going to be mytmbadge.com, mydomebadge.com? I have no idea, right? So I'm sending this out to people. It is embarrassing, right? But if we wait, then we lose. Okay. So again, I want to emphasize this fact of creating visual mock-ups of your ideas so that people can understand them far quicker, okay? And how you can use AI to make visual mock-ups of your ideas, okay? So for this, I used an AI stack. I have a few different models and some local models that I use. There's a website called netlify.com, and there you can, build out a website and then just drop it in. Okay, so any of you could go home today and build a website in an hour. Okay, if you want to express something, if you want to share something, you can do it. Okay, with these tools, right? If you want to build an application, you can use something like magicpatterns.com, right? And then you can show that to people. Hey, wouldn't this be cool? What if at the moratoriums, everyone had like an application and they could type in their desires or their comments? Instead of having to wait for everyone to speak, what if they could all be surveyed at once, right? What if they could just scan the QR code, go to the link, and say what they have to say? And then once we have something that works, or that somewhat works, then we design further and we understand further what people want, okay? So AI doesn't magically work, okay? That's really bad thinking, okay? I've been in a few conversations where it's like, well, I don't think AI is that great because, I typed it 2 sentences and it wasn't accurate. And it's like, well, okay, we got to talk. Okay. AI requires some patience. Okay. So here are 2 different types of prompts. Okay. So one of the strongest aspects of the second prompt is the last sentence, which says MCQ 10 times to reduce assumptions. MCQ is shorthand for multiple choice questions, okay? So we can ask AI to ask us questions to ensure that we are in sync, right? It doesn't always have to be you have to pour everything into the AI, right? There's many, creative types are doing very well with AI because if you can think it, it's likely the AI can find a way to do it. Okay, so always you want to enter in with context. You can't just say, make me a pizza. You have to tell it thin crust, thick crust, right? Prompt engineering is one of the latest skills now, is knowing how to ask for what you want. And you can tell the AI, I don't really know what I want. Help me discover that, right? And then it becomes a conversation. You can tell the AI, stop writing 500-word essays at every response. I only want 3 lines per response, right? And that way you can have a relationship with AI that suits you better, right? And so on and so forth. You tell it what you want, what the parameters are, if there's any kind of evidence or source material, right? Like we can say, I want this specific picture, I want this specific data set. Okay, so where are folks using AI right now? I want to hear from the crowd.
ChatGPT, Canva, Google, Mail, or email, obviously. On my phone, searchable, asking questions. Also, in all my apps.
What projects are you using? Are you building any? You made a beautiful presentation for me. I'm guessing you didn't do that by hand. I'm guessing you
Yeah, pitch decks and also looking at integrations, like what's a good fit for my company. It's kind of like people, like you're looking for somebody who jives with your business. And so vetting people that way as well, just saying, oh, it might be a good fit this way. And it might explore something that I didn't think was like, oh yeah, they would be a good fit for that. I didn't think about that. Also vetting out like new ideas, like, is this a good candidate for me? Or just if I have a thought, actually, this is a great example. So we recently had in Fairfield they revitalized the gardening and planting in the area. What is that group called?
Beautification.
Yeah, the Beautiful.
The Beautiful Commission.
The Beautiful Commission. The beautiful. So there's like some corn that grew up out of like nowhere, and I was like, I don't think that's even allowed by code because I had heard that we weren't allowed to grow crops or like anything over like at all in our yard because there was a dispute. And I was like, wait a second, actually, I don't know if that's true, but I wrote it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going down this rabbit hole. So I used AI to figure out that actually there was a law, but then it got changed just last year. And so it is different. And so now you can grow something, but it has to be a certain height. And I was like, well, the corn doesn't really count, but it's also Fairfield and Iowa, so I think there are exceptions that can be made, just low key. But having that at my fingertips to not have to read everything about the law to figure out this one issue was very handy. And so it probably took me a total of 30 minutes to like get to the conclusion of, sure, it's allowed now, but not really in this context. And then I could draw my own conclusions from this. And of course, it can still stay there. I'm fine with it.
Excellent.
Well, I'll go to Alan because I bet he has something to say. But the funny thing about that is that Deborah of the Beautification Commission put out a post because when that corn started to grow up, it was like hysterical. It was like a big one and a little one. So she took a picture of the big one and said, "What should we name this?" Right. and everyone starts going on, and something like, there's a bunch of them. The one that won is Cobb Father. It's just so much fun. There's so much human connection that comes from that. It would be impossible to do that without these technologies. So you're in marketing. What do you do with this?
So right now, what I'm finding the most help from AI tools in my day-to-day is using it to just get done a lot of the tasks that I don't need to be spending my personal time doing. Utilizing things like ChatGPT Codex, now kind of maybe called something else, and Claude Cowork and things like that. You can give those tools the ability to connect to a lot of your services using MCPs and totally blanking on APIs. Thank you, myself. To be able to go and like do a lot of the manual grunt work of your job, and free your mind up for a little bit more of the intellectually intense or creativity things that I, being in the digital marketing, need to spend more of my time on. So it's stuff like that, and then trying to use some of the generative tools. There's some very interesting things in the voice category and the video generation and things where, at this point now, some of that is not fit for use on a wide scale unless you really, really know what you're doing, but it keeps getting better, every day. So yeah, there's a lot of different things, but I feel like I've been talking too long.
Oh, no, that's perfect. Phyllis, you're next. Hey, Phyllis is coming. Come on, call on me.
So I use
Oh,
AI all day long. I'm in Claude.
Hang on, rewind.
Okay. I use AI all day long. I'm in Claude multiple times a day for multiple clients, different Claude accounts for multiple clients. I used Lovable to build 2 web apps that I use in my business. One a pricing calculator and the other one an introspection process. I'm in Gemini all the time, and one AI that a lot of people don't realize is available to them if they have a YouTube channel, Studio AI, inside of your YouTube dashboard is so helpful. If you need timestamps or you need anything to put into the description or on your video to come up with A/B titles or all of that's AI supported, and it's super helpful for those of you who have YouTube channels. But mostly I'm in Claude a lot, like all day. So big fan.
Fabulous. And I have probably spent a minimum since January of 200 hours on AI. It took me over 100 hours to build the Civic Intelligence Hub. And that was back in January, which is basically Flintstones compared to what AI will do now. And boy, I would spend 8 hours time just going down rabbit holes, futile rabbit holes, but actually ended up with something that was pretty darn useful. In fact, someone came in town, said, you know what? I've never had to call City Hall or anyone because I just go to your little thing and I type something in and I get an answer. And I go, well, that's really, really good. What I use this for is pretty much everything. Now, if I want to write a Facebook post, I will give AI, okay, I want it to feel like this. Here's what you want to do. Come up with something. No, I don't like that. Come up with something else. And boom, it'll do it. I had a beautiful presentation. That presentation I gave you, Tora, which I think was pretty compelling, right? I think it was a kick-ass presentation. That was on a streaming service. So I actually I just put the streaming service URL into a fairly high-level Claude LM or the version, and it stripped everything out of the streaming service. And I said, redo it. Well, redid it for the wrong color, so I did have to go back and screenshot the key colors. I said, these are the colors to use. Go to it, and boom, it was done. Then I wanted to add things. I would ask. I said, you know that slide, you know, the one where it says, oh, the sad lady with all of her low NAD? That was discontinuous with a slide. In fact, you pointed that out, or someone pointed it out and say, hey, that's harsh. It was like kind of jumps there. I said, Claude, old buddy, this is the feedback I've gotten. What can we do to do an on-ramp onto that slide so that it hits people emotionally okay? I sent you I don't know whether you saw what I sent you. Absolutely a fantastic slide. I could not have done it myself, and it just boom, like in 20 seconds, the slide was done. And so I use it to amplify my own creativity. Now, if something really needs to be me, like a talk, I will not have AI write it for me, because no matter how much you try, there's always these little things that say, hey, I wrote that. So I'll write the whole thing out, like the presentation I did over in the island of Guernsey. I didn't ask AI to do that. I wrote the whole thing out. Then I gave it to AI and said, okay, what's not clear? Please, and I wouldn't even ask him, don't do it. Just tell me what you're going to do. How are you going to approach this? It'll lay it all out. And I'm sure I'm still using more manual stuff than I would need to. But in a moment, it tells me, then I say, no, do this, and say, go to it. And I said, leave it in my voice. Don't change anything about the structure unless you really think, and if you need something, if that needs to be changed, you get back to me. And it was a big hit, and it was absolutely my voice. So anyway, that's how I use it.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, and if you're thinking, what could I use AI for? Anything that is text heavy, anything that has a lot of data involved, see if you can use AI for that, right? Whether you're writing a book, whether you're analyzing history, whether you're just trying to put the facts together. You know that famous image from movies where there's a guy and he's got all these pictures on a cork board and he's trying to tie everything together, right? And he's got pins everywhere. AI really helps to reduce that kind of thinking. What are we going to do next with this badge? I'm going to continue sharing it with folks here in the community and understanding what is it that they want, what do they want to see. And I really hope by next week or 2 weeks I don't have to think about this anymore and I can just give it to a team to handle it. So I'm looking forward to that. Strongly encourage you all to utilize AI to continue building and conveying your ideas. Thank you all so much.